Michigan raised a banner before the game and throughout the night looked like a team that could raise some more at Crisler Center. Welcome on in to the Wolverine basketball show. I'm your host, Clayton Sayfie. It is 12:57 a.m. early Tuesday morning, coming off of Monday night's 121-78 Michigan basketball win over Oakland to open the 2025-2026 season at Crisler Center. And what a night it was. We're going to break it all down, talk about everything from the atmosphere to Charlie May hitting a three and recording an assist, the son of the head coach getting in there because it was that lopsided in this game. Before we do, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to give us a like there if you're excited about this Michigan basketball season. Let's get this thing to 300 likes. Subscribe to our channel as well. You can get all the press conferences from the post game, all of our podcasts, all of our football and recruiting coverage as well here on the Wolverine YouTube channel. And all of our coverage is up over at thewolverine.com. I just dropped 5 takeaways from the game. We went really in depth on the analysis from this win. You can use the promo code UM1 right now for 2 months of access for just $1. So get behind the paywall, get behind the paywall on our message board as well as the articles, all of that good stuff over at thewolverine.com. We continue to kind of build this show out and, sometimes it might be the next day, or a lot of times it'll be right after the game, including this time you get your post-game writing done and we'll hit the show here and hopefully people can listen to this on their way to work and things like that. If they so desire to listen to, one guy's take on a game, and certainly form your own opinions as well. And we'd love to hear you all chime in the comments on YouTube, because we're all just learning the game here. We're all just trying to break it down. We're all just trying to enjoy and watch Michigan basketball. But it was really enjoyable on Monday night. 121-78 win. So much to unpack. But you had the banner raising for the 2025 Big Ten Tournament Championship. The entire team out there. And for those watching on YouTube, we'll pop that on the screen right now. They had the whole team from this year stand next to it, as before it was raised into the rafters at Crisler Center. I thought that was kind of cool. You're part of the program, you're part of the program. And Yaxel Lendeborg and Winters Grady and Trey McKenna and all those guys who, some of them were on other teams last year. Certainly the freshmen were in high school and committed, but they are a part of this program that won a championship a year ago. They wanted to celebrate that, and they did, and then quickly you turn the page to this year, and it was really an unbelievable display. And I want to start with a couple notes in terms of injuries and availability, and then get into the game. And we have to start with the play on the offensive side of the floor. But Yaxel Lendeborg with a big wrap on his right wrist, still played, but came off the bench. And we'll talk about how he played. But we also that allowed us to see Merez Johnson Jr. and Adai Mara start next to each other in the front court. And they started with Elliot Cadeau at point guard, Namari Burnett and Roddy Gale in the backcourt on the wing, however you want to put it, kind of positionless, really outside of those big man spots. But you did see Yaxel Lendeborg. He was quite limited in the game, 22 minutes, and still played really well. Dusty May said he played like an all-league player, despite basically playing one-handed. He practiced essentially one-handed on Sunday and missed a couple days before that. Still plays well with 12 points, 4 of 4 shooting, 2 of 2 from three-point range, made both of his free throws, grabbed 4 rebounds, dished out 3 assists, and only had 1 turnover. So you saw that. LJ Kaysen, sophomore guard, was out in this game. He should be back by next Tuesday's game, just a little bit banged up. They're being really cautious with him early on. And then the freshman guard, Winters Grady, a sharpshooter, was out. He had a boot on his right foot. Dusty May said he'll be cleared to practice in the next couple days here if everything goes according to plan. So they could get him back. And it sounds like they're not going to redshirt him. So he's someone that could factor into the rotation at some point, whether it's spot minutes here and there. Maybe you don't play in every game. Maybe you play in a third of the games, but you come in and you hit a couple shots or something like that. You earn some more run. Whatever it is, that's going to evolve. The rotation is going to evolve throughout the season. A lot of it's going to depend on health and who's available, who's not. But that's kind of how Michigan rolled rotationally. 8 guys that were in that primary rotation: Elliot Cadeau, Namari Burnett, Roddy Gale Jr., Adai Mara, Merez Johnson Jr., Trey McKenna, and Yaxel Lendeborg. And, nobody played over 28 minutes. That was Trey McKenna, and he was in at the end of the game, and they were just continuing to get him some run, and he had an outstanding performance. And he's one of our big takeaways that we will talk about here tonight. So we'll save that for in just a moment. But when you score 121 points, the headline is what Michigan was able to do offensively. And this was one of the better performances offensively in Michigan basketball history, going back to 1908, 1909, going back to 1917 when they actually started playing consecutively. They started in 1908, 1909, had almost a decade off, and then back in 1917 when Elmer Mitchell was the head coach. But you can go that far back, and this stacks up historically with any of those. Michigan leads 69-38 at half. That's the most points in a first half in program history, passing the 66 they put up against Eastern Michigan in 1987. Michigan's 121 points for the game are tied as the 5th most in a game in school history. They scored 128 against Purdue in 1966. That is the current record, but they had 127 against Iowa in 1990, 125 against Northern Michigan in 1988, and 123 against Illinois Chicago back in 1986. So certainly you put up a huge total there, a crooked number, to use a term from another sport. 1.55 points per possession. That's the most Michigan has had in a game since having a 1.62 in a 107-53 win over Houston Baptist on December 7th, 2013. I remember that was one heck of a Michigan team in 2013-2014 that won the Big Ten, got to the Elite Eight, lost to Kentucky, all those things. This was a very, very fast-paced game. 78 possessions for Michigan in this game. It played right into their favor. We wrote in the preview that Michigan would probably be able to play really fast because of the way it went in the exhibition last year against Oakland. They play this weird zone, kind of a 1-1-3 zone. It looks like a 1-3-1 at times. It kind of is a mishmash of things, but Michigan just diced it up. It looked easy for this Michigan team to carve up that zone. Michigan led 13 seconds in. They had a double-digit lead less than 5 minutes in. They led by 27 or more the entire second half. They led by 46 at one point, 106-60 with 7 minutes and 47 seconds to go. So the game was really never in doubt at all. It was 14-10 early on. That might have been the first media timeout, but it's so early in a game that there's obviously no concern really at that point in terms of what the final outcome is going to be. You knew Michigan was going to make a run and win the game. You didn't know they were going to score 121 and just continue to dominate throughout. Michigan shoots 74.3% on twos. They shoot 54.3% from beyond the arc, that 19 number there, 19 of 35 from three. 19 makes from deep is tied for the most in program history. They tied that number last year against Western Kentucky, if you remember that game just before Christmas as well. Maybe had opportunity to break that and didn't get it, but Michigan goes 12 of 13 from the foul line too. It just kind of dominated overall. Points in the paint, 46. The layup and dunk numbers, I'll look at here, 20 of 23 on layups and dunks. When you can get to the rim for 23 shots, it's probably going to be a win. And, I'll say Michigan is going to have 20-plus layup/dunk attempts in some games this year because of their size. I mean, Adai Mara at 7'3", Merez Johnson was incredible with 24 points himself, and in only 20 minutes. He had 20 points in 13 first-half minutes. So, those two dominated. Adai Mara had a double-double with 12 points, 12 rebounds, 2 assists. Just looks really, really good against that zone where he can get it in the middle of the floor, in the high post, the elbow area, the free throw line extended. He can also get it down low and just see over everybody. I mean, the biggest guy on Oakland that played is 6'8", and So Michigan just used that size advantage. They got beat a few times on the other end of the floor because of it, especially early on. And Taburu is his first name, Navia Lura. Not even going to try to say it. When you have to write for a living, sometimes you don't have to make the tough pronunciations. We leave that to Brian Bush and the boys over in Terry Mills on the radio call. But now I'm doing a podcast and realize I didn't even think about how I got to say this guy's name. But he's the preseason player of the year in the Horizon League. And by the way, Oakland picked second in the Horizon League behind Milwaukee. So certainly a team that is expecting to contend for an NCAA tournament bid in a one-bid league there. But he hit 3 threes tonight. He had 3 threes in his career leading up to this season. And credit him for working on that clearly throughout the offseason, but also taking advantage of Michigan just not being able to get a hand in his face at times because you have a couple big guys out there, especially early in the game. Then Michigan goes small soon thereafter and kind of mix and match and used a bunch of different types of lineups throughout the night. But that's the one instance in those scenarios when the size advantage didn't work in your favor, but you made up for those points and then some on the other end of the floor because you just dominated down low. Like we said, 20 made shots at the rim. The passing is really what stood out. Michigan finishes with 29 assists on 45 made buckets. That's over 64%. That's a really, really good number for the season. They're going to be right around there. They might be a little bit higher. That is a really good number. Michigan was one of the higher teams in the country last season in assist rate, which I can pull up with KenPom there. They're at 58% for the season a year ago. That ranked 49th in the country. So 64 is an elite number there. Elliot Cadeau had 12 assists, the point guard, only 5 points, but he was cooking, in terms of playing fast. I mentioned the 78 possessions. Michigan really pushing the pace, making sure Oakland couldn't get set up in their zone, and a bunch of fast break points. Official box score only says 10, but there were a heck of a lot more than that. And, those 12 assists from Elliot Cadeau are more than Oakland had as an entire team. Oakland with 11 assists on 27 made buckets. They shoot 42% from the field and still put up a point per possession, which is probably too high. Michigan has some things to clean up, some miscommunication. Sometimes when, one guy thought they were switching, one guy thought they were in drop coverage on ball screens, things like that they need to clean up. But it's also hard to stay locked in when you're up so much throughout the game. But the passing, Dusty May said they could be one of the better passing teams in the country. You're seeing it from all sorts of guys. 6 guys out of those 8 that we mentioned that played 20 or more minutes, had multiple assists. 7 guys had an assist as well. And 9 guys had an assist. I knew I counted that wrong looking at the box score here. So, I mean, just sharing the basketball. Dusty May said maybe the fault that they had was that they passed up some good looks instead of taking the shot. And it's an unselfish team. And, the speech to the team after the game that was released on Michigan basketball's Twitter account and Instagram, him talking about just, we can't lose that. We can't lose that unselfishness because that can take us a long way. And I think it definitely can for this Michigan team. We mentioned the impact that Merez Johnson Jr. and Adayamara made. Yaxel Lendeborg wasn't even himself and still had 12 points. Was really encouraged by the front court in this game. Let's talk about Trey McKenna, though. 0 of 7 from the field the last time he played in Crisler in a game-like situation. That was the first exhibition against Cincinnati. It was 0 of 6 from three-point land in that game. He went 1 of 3 from 3 in Madison Square Garden and really looked much more comfortable in the second exhibition against St. John's, which was technically on the road, compared to the first. But then this was just a completely different Trey McKenna on Monday night. Let's look at his stat line from this game. 21 points, 7 of 10 from the field, 6 of 8 from 3, 1 of 1 from the free throw line. He literally shot the lights out because as he was driving in and eventually going to put up a shot that I believe banked in, but I couldn't tell for sure, the lights went out at Crisler. It was damn near pitch black. There were some other things lit up because it's a game and, you got promotions and different things around the arena. but the main lights went out for 4 or 5 seconds, or 6, 7 seconds, I guess I should say, to get on board with the trend. And he still made the shot. The ref didn't blow the whistle until after, and he gave him the N1. Maybe shouldn't have happened, but it is what it is. He literally shot the lights out at Crisler. 4 assists for him as well, 2 rebounds. Looked uber comfortable out there for a true freshman in his first game. His 21 points, the most by a Michigan freshman in a season opener since Jet Howard had 21 in 2022. Jamal Crawford also had 21 points in his Michigan freshman debut in the season opener, to begin his career. So certainly Jamal Crawford maybe looks back a little bit more fondly around here than Jet Howard's career, but either way, Jet Howard could fill it up, and Trey McKenna could fill it up. He stays in the game later on and padded those stats a little bit, but that was pretty legit stuff from him. He played the backup point guard minutes because LJ Kaysen was down, and you saw him make some incredible passes early on. One, a no-look pass to Merez Johnson Jr., another when he kind of whipped it in there through the entire zone defense and got it to Merez for another shot at the rim. One of those was an and one. I can't remember exactly which, but you're getting guys easy looks. He was relocating really well after he kind of penetrate against the zone, give the ball up, find a soft spot on the wing, and then Namari Burnett found him for 2 assists on 3-point shots from the wing that he knocked down. So you love what you see from Trey McKenna. And really, the coaches have said throughout that that's what they were seeing more in practice rather than what we saw in the exhibition games. And Trey McKenna, we talked to him after the game. He said he didn't panic at all from what happened in the exhibitions. He understood that it may not, work out his first time out, and he's going to have some ups and downs. And Dusty May said something really interesting after the game, too, that he would be concerned if Trey McKenna came out and played well right away, because he expects a guy that cares so much about Michigan, about playing well, about his teammates, to have some jitters and to be a little bit nervous and to have to go through some of that early on. So it was really cool to see that from the Flint native. Speaking of Namari Burnett as well, he knocked down 4 threes. 3 of his misses went in and out. 2 of those missed threes, Michigan got the rebound and got a putback. So it was a really efficient 3-point shooter tonight, considering he made 4 of them out of 7 attempts, and 2 of them resulted in Michigan getting the putback. Not every game is going to be this easy. Maybe no game is going to be this easy going forward. But, and that was a hell of a way to start this thing off. Michigan will be back in action next Tuesday against Wake Forest at Little Caesars Arena in Detroit. Really excited for that one. Going through my notes that I took throughout the game just to make sure we didn't miss anything player-wise. I mean, I think Elliot Cadeau probably doesn't get talked about enough in this game. I don't even think he was asked about in the press conference. There was a question about the backup point guard job, and that's certainly a worthy one. But, man, Cadeau runs the show here with the way he can get them to play with pace. He can kind of gallop up the floor. He sees it so well. He makes such crisp passes. I think he's one of the better point guards in the Big Ten this season, and an upgrade, frankly, at point guard. Roddy Gale Jr. Hasn't gotten any mention yet. 11 points, 4 rebounds, 1 assist. He did knock down a 3 in the corner. I believe he had an in and out on a 3 from the corner as well. Kind of just an efficient, solid game from Roddy Gale. Really liked what we saw from him. Will Cheddar also knocked down some shots. He was big time with 4 made threes himself. 16 points, 21 minutes. Heck, he's probably not even going to play 21 minutes. He was, he's not going to average maybe anywhere near that. Maybe it's closer to 14 or something like that. But, I mean, the way he can shoot now and the way he can shoot, quick release, it looks a lot quicker. He doesn't need the ball to kind of be in a certain spot where he can kind of have that little bit of a hitch at the beginning of his shot. He can shoot it a little bit away from his body now. Worked on that throughout the offseason. Was impressed by that. And Charlie May, just happy for that dude. And Dusty talked about it afterwards. Life as a coach's son isn't always easy, and you're moving around, and you got to make new friends at different schools throughout the country, and they're at Louisiana Tech, and they're at Florida, and then they go to Florida Atlantic. And, he played at Central Florida for a couple years before transferring up to Michigan, and he's loving his experience here. And to see the joy that the fans at Crisler had for him, as well as his teammates, was awesome. The Crisler Center atmosphere was amazing. Dusty May said they doubled maybe how raucous the atmosphere was from the season opener last season against Cleveland State, and he expects it to go to even another level for the next home game. And hey, when you win like that and when you're that fun to watch, you're going to do that. Dusty May notes from his press conference real quick in case there's anything that we didn't mention. He mentioned just the best thing about the offensive performance was the passing, as we talked about. LJ Kaysen could have played. He was available for emergency purposes. He's cleared to play. They're just being really cautious with him early on. He mentioned he thinks guys shoot it better with a hand injury. And sure enough, Yaxel Lendabor goes 2 for 2 from 3. Maybe they just don't think about it as much. They just let it rip. And he was able to do that in this game. Dusty May's embracing the expectations with this team. I'll leave us with this note. And I thought it was really interesting. And he's just so honest and so fun to listen to. So go listen to that whole press conference over on our YouTube channel here. He says it's reassuring that people outside of your locker room believe in your team. I don't mind it at all. It doesn't impact our day-to-day, but there will be times that we use it. Talking about if we're going to be there in March and April, we need to have incredible practice habits. We're not going to raise a banner for preseason Final Four, but it's great for our fan base. It's great for all of us, you guys and him talking about us in the media, covering the sport and promoting the sport and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, it doesn't mean anything. The fact that he can, compartmentalize that and understand the buzz that it kind of gets to his team and in the fan base and helps the environment at Crisler Center, which was really good, is awesome. And I think this team passed the first test with flying colors and has a bunch of more hurdles to clear throughout the season. We're going to talk about it more on Thursday in our podcast with, two of the best in the business, Chris Ballas and Anthony Broom, that will join me on our Thursday show. We'll talk football, we'll talk basketball. So stay tuned for that in the podcast feed as well as on our YouTube channel. Head to thewolverine.com. Promo code UM1 gets you 2 months of access for just $1. 121-78, the final score. Michigan over Oakland. It's 1:20 a.m. Good night, everybody.